Hello, everyone. It's Micah. I don't like the lighting today, so okay. I guess I'll make do with whatever the shadows decide to do with the planes of my face today. All right, so it's been a few days since I've posted. The expectation for me is not that I'm going to post every single day anyway, but it has been since Wednesday, and now it's Sunday since I've posted, and I wanted to talk about the reason why I've been occupied the past few days, and that would be because I was attending a funeral and went on an unexpectedly rewarding trip to Tennessee. I left on Thursday, got back on Saturday, which was yesterday, and so this is my first video back. Normally, when I make these videos, I have an idea of what I want to say, and there's been ideas bouncing around in my head. But I think in this instance, I mainly want to ruminate without maybe a clear landing point about the experience itself. I mean, I definitely want to focus on the family aspect of it because that for sure was the part that was the most was the most important thing. Thinking about family and like how we think about our families, and and how we think about our relationship to our families. Uh, it's definitely not my intent to go over any lurid details of my family history, and there's not really anything so lurid anyway that I know about now. If anyone in my family wants to bring me up to speed on some things that I missed, I'm sure there's dirt and drama in there somewhere, but that's not something I know about, and it's even if I did know about it, that's not something I'm going to be uh, sharing with whomever comes across this video. So that's not the intent here. But more to the point, how family interacts within itself and how things develop over periods of time. So it's going to be difficult for me to bridge the gap between the specifics of what has happened in my family and trying to generalize that to some sort of message or some sort of thesis. But just some of the things I observed in my family, and although I can't speak for every family, I think I can speak for a lot of them. Um, so for me personally, I've had a complicated relationship with my mom's side of the family. My mom passed in 1995, 31 years ago, and because of that disconnect, like that literal disconnect from the family, like my point of connection to the family has not been around for 3 decades. There's not really been an easy or natural way for me to get in touch with anyone because I always was there with her. Like if we showed up to family events, it was because she was there, and therefore I never really learned how to stand on my own as part of the family. Uh, Off the top of my head, I believe this was maybe the third or fourth family gathering of any sort that I have attended in the past 30 years. And so I'm out of practice, or I shouldn't say out of practice. I never got to practice as a standalone functioning adult to exist in my family. I was always just one of the kids. I'm no longer anywhere close to being a kid, so um, you kind of have to like catch up all of these years of being in a mental space of just being one of the kids in the family when that's clearly no longer healthy or appropriate to use as a self concept. And this this past weekend was, or half weekend, I guess you could call it, was a real eye opener for me. It allowed me to Okay, Amir, why don't you just completely block the camera? Hi, I'm still back here. Amir, can you give us some space? Thank you. He sees that I'm talking to somebody, of course. He doesn't realize the setup, as you probably guessed. He's not that smart. And so he's just mad that I'm not giving him the attention. But any of you who have cats or animals of any sort understand the tension there. He's probably about to jump over any second now. At any rate, I feel like I existed as a fully functioning, independent adult for the first time with my family. And I learned basically that I haven't really missed out on a whole lot of family stuff. Obviously, I've missed things that are individually important to my family members. But the consolation there is that everybody else in the family also missed out on everything else from that happened to everybody else. The last big event that happened, there was one other funeral in the family that I was not able to attend 13 years ago, and prior to that, there was a wedding 3 years before that, and that was the last time I had seen the family. And when I asked them what did I miss or what has been happening in the meantime, and everyone pretty much across the board said, well, not a lot has really happened. We really haven't been getting together and talking. And I know some families are very close knit, and then others sort of drift a bit. And my family is one of those that has drifted. And we have a running joke in our family about how reserved and small C conservative we kind of all are. And the fact that there may be some capital C conservatism running around in my mom's side of the family has been one of the reasons why I have kind of taken a step back over time. Most of them are still in the Nashville area, and I have lived in Atlanta my entire adult life. And so the physical distance is another aspect of it, but I do get back once or twice a year to visit some people. It's just I've never honestly made it a priority to visit the people on my mom's side of the family. Again, I wasn't really sure where I fit in. I had never, as I said, existed as a independent adult in any of their worlds, so I didn't really know how to navigate any of that. So I was taking a big leap into an unknown, or at least a lesser known version of a family dynamic that I used to inhabit when I was much younger. And it really was very satisfying. There were elements of it that were mortifying to me. Like in other words, there were things that I did that I was embarrassed about. So much awkwardness after so many years. There were things that I saw that surprised me, and there were things that I saw that reassured me that the family dynamic is very much the same. I learned some things about my uncle who passed, and that reinforced the idea that on a fundamental level, like the family members don't necessarily really. Some of the family members don't really know others of the family members. I'm not going to speak for any of the other people in the family about how close they might be individually or how much they might know about each other individually, but I know that there do exist chasms between certain people in the family. And I assume that that's pretty much the case with most families, maybe a little more than usual with my family. But it was really good to see everybody, and it was very interesting, and my brain has been going nonstop for the past 2 days processing everything that I've seen. These were people that honestly had been sidelined psychologically for me because I'm living my life. I have the few people that are close to me, and the few things that I do that are close to me, and those very much occupy my time. I've not really reached outside of myself very much. And I think even for people who aren't introverted like myself, I think out of sight, out of mind is a really normal way for humans to process things, even if you're dealing with your family. I imagine that there are a contingent of people who might be watching this video who can't imagine being separated from their family, having that much of a chasm when there's not a formal disconnect. You know, and by formal disconnect, that's just a weird way of me saying some sort of argument or some sort of disagreement that caused you to purposely distance oneself from the family. And there hasn't been that, and there just hasn't been the communication. And for those people, to whom this concept seems foreign, that family, there's a very significant and vocal contingent of people who say family is really, at the end of the day, all you have. Why would you estrange yourself from these people who are related to you? And I have to say with complete honesty that family doesn't inherently mean anything to me. What matters to me, what has always been a priority to me, is showing up. And some people who are very closely related don't show up for each other in families. And when that happens, the people who don't show up in those families are not owed anything by other members of those families. There are always people in the family who give and express their feelings and put themselves on the line in many different kinds of ways. And I mean, they're not owed anything. They're not specifically owed anything either, but it makes sense to say that you should keep those people close to you. But for the people who never reach out or never take an interest in you, or might even say things that are outright disrespectful to you, then you don't owe those people anything. It doesn't matter how you're related. The fact that you grew up with people around you that were related to you, it is a very strong indication that you should be close, or it's better than not to be close. But at the end of the day, family to me has always been what you make it. And family members who don't show up for you shouldn't necessarily be a huge part of your life. And so for that reason, this past weekend has been enlightening, and it has exposed me to some of my misconceptions, or some narratives, some stories I've been telling myself over the years to fill in the blanks, because I haven't really spoken to people. And I was probably wrong about a lot of that, and I feel like I'm strong enough of a person now that I can handle the truth, that I can interact as a mature adult. And like, if they have negative things to say about me, I think I can take it at this point. Part of my reticence over the years has been because, what if somebody says something about me and it hurts my feelings? And I think I'm okay with that now. I think I can withstand people saying negative things about me, because guess what? I'm not perfect. It's taken me a really long time to let my perfectionism go and realize that, like, I did at least one and probably up to two or three things during the impromptu reunion that the funeral served as, that were very mortifying and very embarrassing, and that people might very well like be talking behind my back about me, and maybe thought was, and there could be things that I didn't even like register with me that maybe they thought was completely inappropriate. And the more that I live, and the more that I interact with people, and the more comfortable I get with myself, the more I understand, like, truly internally, the more I really internalize the well-worn saying, what other people think about you is none of your business. If you have something against me and you hold that inside yourself, I can't be responsible for that, and I can't really have any involvement with that. And if you do share it with me, if I do like call up somebody that I reconnected with this weekend, and they say something negative, I'm not used to that sort of interaction. I usually run far, far away from anything or anybody who has negative things to say about me. But from them, from people that I have more or less like removed from my life in terms of caring a lot about what they say over the years, I think I could probably take those comments. And I'm not inviting them. If any of y'all happen to be watching this video, I'm not saying, hey, throw darts at me. Cast your arrows in my direction and let's see if they hurt or not. I don't really want that. I'm just saying that if there are negative things that end up being important enough for them to discuss with me, then I think I can handle that at this point. So I feel good about the possibility of reconnecting in a more honest way, and if not more honest, then in a more with a better common understanding of what the interaction is. So I feel very hopeful about staying in closer contact with my family, but I don't regret the past 30 years. I don't bemoan all the time that was lost, because the time that I could have spent cultivating the relationships with them, I've spent cultivating relationships with my chosen family, the friends and the relationships that I have cultivated here in Atlanta, and the relationship that I continue to cultivate with myself. It's not an either or thing, but at the end of the day, I'm only, you really are doing something every moment of every day. What you do becomes who you are. And I've continued to do things. My life didn't go into some sort of suspended animation because I wasn't in contact with my family. So I continued developing as a person without them, without significant interaction with them. And so I don't really regret any of it. So it's kind of a hopeful but not sentimental kind of reaction to having this weekend with my family. But it was, on the whole, even though, like I said, there were a couple of mortifying moments that I've experienced personally, and even though there was a fair amount of effort and a little expense involved, I don't regret any of it. It really was worth it, and I'm glad I got to see everybody again. So I think that pretty much sums up my thoughts on the past 2 or 3 days. It was definitely interesting. And on a side note, I got to experience Nashville as a tourist for possibly the first time in my life, and it's a very different feeling to see Nashville that way, when you just kind of took the whole thing for granted, living in and around it when you were growing up. It's funny, the things that I never experienced. For one thing, I went down to Riverfront Park. I think maybe at one or two points in my life I had been down there, but I certainly don't remember it. It was certainly not a fixture of my childhood, and like the fact that something so iconic in Nashville is something I never even bothered going to, even though I could have just at any point walked right down the street from my high school and experienced it when I was in high school. But that could be a whole like video unto itself, and maybe as I jot down ideas, I'll revisit that and give my impressions of Nashville. I think that might be a good video to make, Nashville as a tourist. So I will jot that one down on my list. At any rate, that's what I have to say for today on this version of Work in Progress, on this episode of Work in Progress, and I'll talk to you next time.